and appreciation from my heart to yours. Namaste, friends. Let's welcome a dynamic master today, Master Dinesh. He's a senior director at Deloitte, one of the biggest professional services networks in the world. He has led the life of a monk for 14 years in India, where he used to meditate for up to 6 hours every day. He has extensive experience of meditation and spirituality. He's also a wellness coach and an advocate of leading a healthy lifestyle. He speaks on topics relating to transformation of the mind, body, and soul. Let's take advantage of today's opportunity. Thank you, great master Dinesh, for coming and enlightening us. The topic he's going to speak on today is importance of circadian rhythms and how they control our health. The platform is all yours, masters. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Namaste, everyone. Welcome to this morning's wisdom sharing session. Let me get my technology to work. Today's session is on the importance of circadian rhythms and how they control our health. My presentation is not intended to provide medical advice. It is intended for information purposes only. I'm not from the medical field, but my research is based on the work of scientists and medical professionals. If you decide to make changes, please consult with your GP. My presentation is based on my own experience and in no way implies that this is a universal cure, as I recognize that each individual is unique. There is no hidden agenda, not making anything out of this, just sharing some wisdom. Knowledge is power. The first question is, how can we live at our peak physical, emotional, and intellectual performance? Peak performance is when an individual performs at optimal levels, physically, emotionally, and intellectually. Peak performance is a state when you are at your best. Our body is programmed to be fit for every hour of the 24 hours a day. But the truth is, most of us don't live at our peak performance for most of our life. So the question is, why don't we live at our peak performance? It is because of the illnesses that we have. From infectious diseases to chronic diseases like diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, cancer, depression, anxiety, to dementia. You might think that these conditions affect very few people. But the truth is, the numbers tell us a very different story. In the UK alone, 1/3 of all adults have high blood pressure. 5 million people are living with diabetes. Millions of people are living with or will be diagnosed with in their lifetime with cancer, metabolic disease, liver disease, or respiratory disease. These health issues reduce our peak performance and reduce years of healthy living. If we think about a longevity plan, even if it is a pill, it should be so powerful that we can either prevent diseases from happening, or if we fall sick, it should help us recover faster, accelerate cure, and we should be able to come back to full functionality. You might think this is almost impossible, and it's true, because right now we don't even have a single drug that can cure diabetes or obesity. But the reality is that such a longevity code exists. It is in all our DNA. We are pre-programmed for it, and we can start using it right now. We call it the circadian rhythm. For almost 4.5 billion years, our Earth has been rotating, and every life form has evolved on this rotating planet. With every rotation, every day, there is a cycle of light and darkness. The source of all energy on this planet, the source of all food on this planet, comes from light. Almost every living organism, from microorganisms to humans, have developed what we call a circadian rhythm or a circadian clock. Circadian rhythm is a big new concept. This field is only 20 to 25 years old. Many of the principles are not even in the textbooks for medical students. So if you don't know what a circadian clock is, then just think about babies. When babies are born, they don't have a strong clock. So they go to sleep and they wake up and cry. And they go back to sleep and they wake up and cry. They do that almost every 3 to 4 hours. So just imagine if we all didn't have a circadian clock, at present, half of us would probably be sleeping and the other half definitely not crying. But what happens is that after a few weeks, the babies pick up a clock and sanity comes to life. If you are lucky, they sleep for 8 to 10 hours and then they stay awake. So what are the signs of a disrupted circadian rhythm? If you want to see a disrupted circadian rhythm, all you have to do is to observe new moms and new dads. When they get a new baby, sleep gets disrupted. And this has a direct effect on their eating patterns. Even the most dedicated people can stop exercising, eat more junk food, get the dad bored once you get out of your rhythm. Anyone who's ever had a jet lag knows what throwing off our cycle, even by just a few hours, can do. In summary, all of this leads to lower energy, constant weight gain, and a vast range of diseases. So you may ask, what is the proof of a body clock? You can put people in total darkness without any external time cues, and our body continues to cycle in a 24-hour circadian rhythm. In fact, you can even take tissue biopsies from people and show that the cells continue to cycle outside the body in a petri dish. The body clock keeps your body functioning on schedule day and night, wherever you are. So then the question is, why do we have a circadian rhythm? The reason we have a circadian rhythm is everything cannot happen at the same time. You cannot sleep and eat at the same time. We cannot damage our DNA and repair it at the same time. So almost every aspect of biology, starting from single cell, single mitochondria function, to the whole animal is strongly circadian. So the question is, what are circadian rhythms? The circadian rhythm is an evolutionary conserved mechanism to enable organisms to adapt to their surrounding environments and synchronize their internal processes with environmental timing cues. This helps us to ensure optimal survival. All of us have a circadian clock or a 24-hour clock to anticipate when the sun comes up and when it goes down. So the question is, how is this circadian clock controlled? It is controlled by the part of your brain that responds to light, which is why we tend to be more awake during the day and less so at night. Our brain associates light with needing to be alert. The next question is, why are circadian rhythms, where are they present? There are internal timetables present in every single cell, in every organ of our body, including the brain. The circadian rhythm also constitutes the master program that guides what time of day and night every single gene of our 20,000 genes turns on or off. These timely activities in our body help us to prevent disease, improve our immune function, so that we can better fight infectious diseases. By understanding this biology, we can enhance our health and our well-being. Now let us look at the overview of the circadian rhythm. At night, while we are sleeping, many of the internal housekeeping activities are switched on, and as dawn approaches, our body shifts back into activity mode. There is a different circadian rhythm starting from the brain that produces the growth hormone in the first couple of hours of our sleep. The growth hormone replaces many cells throughout the body, and this happens only at nighttime. Now, let's say if you went to bed last night at around 10 o'clock, your deepest sleep happened around 2 o'clock, and the body clock actually anticipates when to wake up. The body is anticipating waking up even before your alarm goes up. Does everybody need an alarm clock to get up? Probably not. At 6 or 7, when you wake up, the melatonin level, which is the sleep hormone, begins to drop, and the stress hormone, cortisol, begins to rise, because that's when the pre-civilized humans started to run to grab some food and eat. The best alertness is around 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. And towards the afternoon, if you think about it, the pre-civilized humans had to run back from outside to get home and find shelter. Accordingly, our clock tells us to be most active in the late afternoon. And in fact, that's the best time to exercise because injury is less. And come evening, melatonin levels start to rise. You fall asleep, the body cools down. That helps us to sleep. Now let us look at the very basic step of digestion. Even that has a very strong circadian rhythm. Different organ systems have their own biological clocks. When we eat, our digestive system digests the food, absorbs the nutrients, sends it to the blood, and then the pancreas performs its role in controlling blood glucose. The first stage of digestion happens in our mouth as we salivate. There is a circadian rhythm to this whole process. We produce a lot of saliva during the daytime, and the saliva production goes way down right around when we go to bed. The next step is digestion. It happens in the stomach, and a lot of the enzymes that break down food are produced in the pancreas. During the daytime, there is a strong production of these enzymes and increased acidity to break down food, and then late at night, our stomach is more sensitive. It feels as if the stomach is sleeping, and suddenly, if we eat late at night, food comes in and the stomach hyperreacts by producing too much acid. Too much acid is not necessarily bad, but what happens is the acid goes up the esophagus and can cause acid reflux. Saliva neutralizes a lot of the acid, but at night time, our mouth reduces saliva production, as we should not be drowning in saliva. If we eat late at night, we have increased acid production and less saliva to neutralize it. This is one reason why people who eat too late at night experience more acid reflux than others. The next step in digestion after the stomach is that the food goes into the intestine, and the intestine has a peristaltic motion. It sends food slowly while the intestine is also absorbing nutrients. The peristaltic process almost shuts down during our sleep late at night. This means even if you have eaten food, it doesn't get digested. The nutrients don't get absorbed late at night. The reason why everything shuts down in digestion at night is that during the daytime, or when we eat, it takes a lot of energy, a lot of acid to break down food. When you are digesting that piece of pizza that you ate, at the same time, it must be damaging some of the stomach lining. That stomach lining must be repaired. There is another clock that works with the digestion clock to make sure that during daytime we digest and at nighttime we repair. So let us now talk about our master clock. There is one master clock in your brain made up of 20,000 nerve cells, and this is called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN. The master clock governs all the biological clocks in your body and is greatly influenced by daylight. When your eyes detect daylight, that light travels down a neural pathway to the SCN, triggering alertness. The SCN also has receptors for melatonin, which a lot of people know as the sleep hormone. When there is no light, your master clock is telling the brain to produce melatonin. That explains why some of us feel drowsy and dreary when it's outside. We know that light resets the clock, because if we put a healthy individual in a normal person and shine bright light for a couple of hours in the middle of the night, that will screw up the clock and will mess up the sleep-wake cycle. So the question now is, why are we living out of alignment with our circadian rhythm? Your body loves being on a schedule. It loves following routines and habits. And especially it loves following its natural rhythm baked into your DNA through evolution. Our bodies haven't evolved much since the previous 20,000 years. Through evolution, our bodies have got used to a certain rhythm of living life. We wake up when the sun rises. We go to sleep around sunset. We could go a long time between each meal, and we were active during the day. Unfortunately, in our modern world of mainly being indoors with blue screens, artificial lights, and constant eating patterns, and minimal physical activity, we have created an environment that pulls us away from circadian rhythm, and doing so is associated with various chronic diseases and negative states of health. During very bright daylight outside, light is strong, very rich source of blue light. That activates this light sensor, synchronizes the brain clock, and reduces depression. During daytime, you almost need 1,000 or 2,000 lux of light to activate it. So if you go outside, even on a pretty cloudy day, you'll get nearly 5 to 10,000 lux of light. But what has changed? We have now moved indoor. And our modern humans spend 85% to 95% of our time indoors. During daytime, we spend less than 5% of our time outdoors. During daytime, we have very dim light indoor. And what does that do? That reduces activation of this blue light sensor. It reduces alertness, it reduces performance. It triggers a foggy brain. It promotes bipolar syndrome, PTSD, and depression. But at nighttime, it's a different story since this light receptor is sensitive to blue light, and most of our ancestral light was from wood burning fire. That fire light is very weak in blue light, and that's why that could not activate this light sensor. As a result, it's almost inactive in candlelight or firelight, and that helps the sleep hormone melatonin to rise in the evening and make us fall asleep. Conversely, now at nighttime, we have a lot of light. What does it do? It disrupts the circadian rhythm. It makes our brain think it's daytime. It reduces sleep hormone melatonin and keeps us awake. It contributes to so many diseases. So as a result, we can say light for vision is not necessarily light for health. Light is a therapeutic agent. It has been shown in a clinical setting that as a rule of thumb, for depression, give at least 15 minutes to 1 hour of 10,000 lux of light. It is good for depression. An average person should get at least 2,000 lux supply. That means anywhere between 15 minutes to an hour. Then at night time, we should reduce our light to just less than 20 lux, an hour or two before going to bed. There are free apps on both iOS and Android which actually measure the lux of light. So now the question is, why are we living out of our rhythm, out of alignment with our circadian rhythm? The interesting thing is, light is not the only thing that resets our clock. What drives our internal organ clocks that aren't exposed to daylight? Food intake. What and how much you eat is extremely important for your health. Recent studies have shown that as your body needs at least 12 hours of fasting every day to function properly. Studies have also shown that individuals have an average eating interval of 15 hours a day. That is only 9 hours when a person is not eating, which actually means when our eyes are open, our mouths are open as well. That is why the timing of our meals may be so important. Just as morning light can help sync our central clock and our brain, our morning meal, breakfast, can help sync our peripheral clocks throughout the rest of our body. In modern day, we stay up late into the night and eat at night time. Then the question is whether this frequent eating during daytime and night messes with our clock, our physiology and metabolism, and that's why we probably put on weight and invite diseases. We look at experiments done in many labs. You take twin mouse brothers who are identical and you give them food. One gets a healthy diet and the other gets a high-fat diet. You come back after a few weeks, then the mouse on the healthy diet is very healthy, whereas the mouse on the high-fat diet is obese. This is known. But what was interesting is that they observed what time of the day these mice ate their food. The mouse on the healthy diet eats only during nighttime. Mice are nocturnal animals, so they eat at night. But the mice on the high-fat diet, for some reason, as they are addicted to the food, they eat both during the day and night. The mouse that is eating only in its natural night time have a very good clock. Their genes turn on and off at the right time of the day. Whereas the mice on the high-fat diet, the clock is messed up. Genes don't turn on and off at the right time. So the question arose whether it's the food or the timing or both that made the mouse on the high-fat diet fat. So then the scientists at Salk Institute did another simple experiment. They took mice which are identical and gave them the same high-fat diet. The only difference was one group could eat whenever they wanted to. The other group given the same number of calories on the same high-fat diet every day, but only at night time in an 8-hour window. At the end of 18 weeks, the results were surprising. The hypothesis that if nutrition quality and quantity matters, then both groups of mice should look completely identical, as both groups had the same nutrition quality and quantity. But surprisingly, those mice that ate randomly became obese. When they opened up their liver, then those mice had fatty liver disease. This is a disease that will strike 1 in 4 in the Western world. Those mice that ate the same number of calories, but in an 8-hour window, weighed 28% less. And most of the reduction in body weight came from reduction in body fat. They're actually protected from obesity, from fatty liver disease, from gut disease. They also had better blood sugar control, better cholesterol control. They had better energy expenditure. These mice had better diversity in their gut microbiome. They always had better immune function, and surprisingly, they also slept better. So what happens when they eat only for 8 hours? The mitochondria is more active. The mitochondria dissipates all the extra fat into pure heat. They have better motor control, and they also have better endurance. This was surprising because the scientists thought that the mice that are fasting for 16 hours, how can they run on a treadmill? So they put 2 groups of mice together. The mice that are eating only for 8 hours, not only did they outran the mice that had 24 access to food, but they outran the mice, and also the mice who had access to 24-hour healthy food as well. They get much deeper sleep. Smaller disturbances don't wake them up. So by eating in a restricted time, you can prevent diseases in mice. Then the question arose, if we take the fat mouse and put it on an 8 to 9 hour feeding window, will that reverse the disease or not? They took the fat mouse, put it back on an 8 to 9 hour eating window. The result was surprising. Although the mouse already had the disease, you can reverse the disease by changing when they eat. The most profound thing is there is no single medicine that we know that can reverse all of these diseases, even in a mouse, in 10 weeks. So just eating in an 8 to 10 hour window is the most powerful drug that we know so far, if we can call it a drug. So what are the other things that disrupt circadian rhythm? Circadian disruption occurs when internal circadian clocks are challenged by conflicting external cues. The most common examples are shift work and jet lag. In UK, 14% of workers are shift workers. Each schedule is different, and they all face abnormal patterns and sleep and eating activity. To the crux of society, they keep everything going. Our newscasters, cleaning crews, chefs, construction workers, journalists are the heroes of our society, the firefighters, the police officers, the doctors, and the nurses. They take the hardest schedules, mentally, physically challenging, just to support our community. Yet, unfortunately, shift work is linked to a wide variety of diseases. Shift workers age earlier. They age quicker because they develop serious health problems at an earlier age compared to the general population. Shift workers are everywhere. Have you ever thought about the sleep state of a doctor or a nurse in a hospital? They are shift workers. They work day and night, and they have a lot of sleep problems. Hospitals are a typical example of where sleepy people treat sleepy people. Because once you are at a hospital, you are kept awake in a hectic, noisy, light polluted environment. And once you fall asleep, they wake you up because of early breakfast. The World Health Organization lists shift work as a carcinogen. Then everyone who has been jet lagged has had the experience. I'm not just talking about the first day of sleep deprivation. I'm talking about those days of muscle weakness, nausea, moodiness, fuzzy thinking, and exhaustion at seemingly random times of the day. This is a feeling of circadian disruption. This is because our bodies were not meant for airplane travel. Unfortunately, circadian disruption is not limited just to shift work and jet lag. Our society has become exceptional at ignoring and disrupting our natural rhythms. It can start with something simple. Say it's a Friday night and you've had a long week. All you want to do is come home and relax. Let's ease it off. So you eat, then you know it's time to binge watch your favorite TV show. You need a drink and a snack to go with it. The show is very good, so you'll need another drink. And before you know, it's 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning before you finally put that last drink or snack down. That sounds like a great Friday night. Unfortunately, Monday rolls around and you're back on your regular schedule. You might be waking up 2 or 3 hours earlier than you did on the weekend. This is a very common way in which we naturally disrupt our body's rhythms. And this is referred to as a social jet lag. Your body may be in the exact same city, but it feels as if it's traveling back and forth between 2 to 3 time zones every weekend. If we think about metabolically how our body is thinking, whether you are doing shift work or not, it is only checking 2 things. Are you staying awake for more than 2 or 3 hours between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. and being engaged in work? You're not just lying in bed with your eyes open. Your eyes are open and you're watching TV, or you're on your mobile phone. That is work because your body is not resting. So if we do this once or twice a week, that is shift work. We are looking at our phones for a couple of hours and we can't go back to sleep, is shift work. If we think about it, almost 70 to 80% of us are shift workers. Our circadian rhythm is disrupted at least a couple of times a week. So what are the tips to live at our peak physical, emotional, and intellectual performance? Circadian disruption has wide impacts on our health. The circadian rhythm is linked to every level of physiology. So disrupting these rhythms can lead to an increase in a risk for a variety of diseases. We know so far that you need to keep your body its schedule so it can prepare for what it needs to do. This means using external cues to support our biological clocks. We can train our circadian rhythms to work for us instead of against us. And that's what this journey is all about. So here are 4 simple strategies to train our rhythm to live at our peak physical, emotional, and intellectual performance. The first one is get 30 minutes of daylight every day. Sunlight can and should be the trigger that resets our circadian clock daily. So step outside to get 30 minutes of daylight. Even on a cloudy day, staying outdoor for 30 to 60 minutes is the best way to resynchronize our brain clock. This is the brain booster because it reduces our depression, elevates mood, and of course, daylight is the best source of vitamin D that keeps our bones healthy. Spend some time outside early in the morning, take in the sun, and spend more time during the day. Go for a quick 5 to 10 minute walk during the lunch break. Sit near a window if possible. Tip number 2 is find your sleeping pattern. The most important aspect of training your circadian rhythm starts and ends with getting your sleep patterns fixed. Sleeping is a domino effect affecting all other areas of our life. To help your body sync up with its master clock, you need to regulate wake and sleeping times. Keeping bedtimes within half an hour of each other, even on weekends, allows our body to naturally prepare for sleep. 7 to 9 hours is usually considered the right amount of sleep. During sleep, our circadian clocks produce hormones and chemicals to repair and rejuvenate our brain and body. Scientific research on not getting enough sleep or having disruptive sleep is conclusive. It has a negative impact on mood, on focus, on cognitive function, ultimately is linked to chronic disease. 7 to 9 hours in bed so that at least you can get 6 hours of restorative sleep. Try to go to bed and wake up at consistent times. 2 to 3 hours before going to bed, avoid food and dim down your light. By dimming down light before going to bed, we crank up the production of our night hormone, melatonin. If you are going to be looking at a computer or a phone, try using a blue filter. Tip number 3, have a fasting window of at least 14 hours every day. So eat within an 8 to 10 hour window. Eat earlier in the day rather than later. Avoid eating for at least an hour in the morning after getting up, because our organs need an hour after waking up so that they are fully prepared to digest food. Leave at least 3 hours before going to bed. One of the reasons is at night your liver clock will shut down. It stops producing enzymes that convert calories into energy. Otherwise at night it's producing enzymes to store energy. Tip number 4 is exercise often. Physical activity has been shown to entrain the circadian rhythm because of the positive effects on sleep. Make sure to avoid nighttime workouts at least 3 hours prior to bed, because they might disrupt the sleeping patterns. Basically, exercise often. You might ask, is that all? Does it really work? In fact, when we take care of our circadian rhythms, everything in our brain and body falls right into its place. There are hundreds of papers in the last 5 to 10 years alone that have shown that the core of the circadian optimization is intermittent fasting that has enabled millions of people to improve performance and their health, and also help them prevent many chronic diseases. And lab animals, when they are on optimal circadian rhythm, they live an ideal, healthy, long lifespan that we all aspire. These animals, they maintain their youthful activity and youthful fitness late into their life with much better brain function, high muscle mass, better heart function. They live with a lower risk for cancer and dementia. They also fight infection much better, and they live a long life. I want to share with you this story of Jean-Louis Coleman. She was a French woman that was the oldest woman in human history. She lived to be 122 years and 164 days. Now, what does Jean-Louis have to do anything with this? Well, it turns out that she was very strict with her schedule of when she went to bed, when she woke up, when she ate breakfast, and when she had lunch. When she went out for a walk, when she went into the garden, her daily routine. She lived her life and optimized her body's circadian rhythm. Now, this is anecdotal, but the scientists that study supercentenarians have sort of characterized her lifestyle and said her circadian clock must have been on point. The rhythmicity and velocity and the amplitude of the circadian rhythm must have been pretty good because she lived a very strict lifestyle in terms of her meal timing and when she exercised and slept. As the Nobel Prize-winning scientist Michael Rochbosch has said, the clock is ticking in every cell. Circadian rhythm is not just a scientific concept, but a vital part of our life. Your body clock is designed to burn during the day and then restore or reprogram during the night. The better in sync you are to that cycle, the less wear and tear on your circadian clock. While the clock is resilient, consistent disruption can cause long-term issues. You are not shaving off 5 years of your life for one late night eating and drinking, but the clock is there to protect and minimize the disruption to our physiology. Be kind to it, and you may well notice the benefits to your health. I hope today's session has helped you appreciate the benefits of circadian rhythm. Thank you everyone for joining today's session. If you have anything to share or ask, please feel free to unmute yourself.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dinesh sir. It was a wonderful session. So received so many insights and wow, really liked the way you explained about the circadian rhythm. Thank you so much once again, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
So friends, if you have any doubts, so someone has asked, Meera, is it okay to meditate between 9 to 12 in the night?
So these are obviously some of the meditation sessions we have. We have, some sort of conflicting views with the circadian rhythm. Yes, it is completely okay to meditate between 9 and 12 at night. One of the things that the scientists tell us is to prepare for sleep. So what they say is 1 hour before going to sleep, please meditate. The other thing that everyone has experienced is when we meditate, actually the body becomes equally restful as we have sleep. Those of us who are wearing smart watches know that when we actually are meditating, the watch actually feels that we are asleep. And sometimes it could be anywhere between 30 to 60 minutes of deep sleep. So yes, yes, we can meditate between 9 and 12 at night. Rameshji or Madhuji?
Yes. So thanks a lot, Dinesh ji. Very beautiful session. Interesting insights. Last year, you have shared very interesting insights on health and food. And this circadian rhythms is another wonderful insight into how our body clock need to be respected. And as you were sharing, one of my questions that came was about day before yesterday, I was walking and I saw people doing workout in gyms late night. And you have covered it in your last slide on that aspect. So thanks a lot. One of the inspiring thing that I get is this should be shared to all the youth and everyone, particularly to the people, to understand how important the day and the night and the circadian rhythm is in order to live healthier and happier. So very grateful to you. You bring such wonderful information. So thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rameshji. Thank you.
Thanks, UK team, for organizing this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rameshji. Anyone, friends, you have any doubts regarding today's topic? You can raise your hands. So this recording is available in the YouTube. We'll be sharing the recording in our groups.
So thank you, everyone, and namaste, and thank you for joining today's session.
Yes, thank you so much once again, Dinesh, for your wonderful, insightful talk. And thank you so much.
Lavanya ji?
Yes, Lavanya. I'll unmute her.
Good morning, Dinesh. Thank you so much for a detailed session. Thanks a lot. You were explaining in one of the slides that the mouse,
yes,
all the mice which all underwent the experiment, and you said there was a reverse in the whatever the
diseases.
side effects of not following the circadian rhythm. Does it happen in the human beings too, in the sense, if we follow the circadian rhythm, we tend to bring back our health? Yes.
So it does. So that's what, if you look at the last 10 to 20 years of all the research papers that have come on intermittent fasting, especially intermittent fasting, and if we eat within an 8-hour window, if possible, 8-hour window, it actually, and at the same time, if possible, avoiding the fatty and the junk food and the processed foods, then we will actually recover our health much faster. Obviously, in the experiment, they started off by giving both groups of mice fatty food, and the mice which actually ate only within the 8-hour window didn't get any of the diseases. Now, when we have diseases, it is a result of not only sort of eating unhealthy food, but having been eating like throughout the day and night. So we've been eating for far more than the sort of 8 hours. We could have been eating for 15 hours. So a lot of unfortunate damage has been done. To recover from that, a healthy diet, and if possible within an 8 to 10-hour window. The shorter the window, the more sort of recovery that takes place. But yes, even in humans, we will recover our health. Yes, good question, Nalini ji. So with the people who are diabetic, so initially, keep the window up to 14 hours. Yeah. So the fasting window, don't bring it down. Don't bring it down to or even 12 hours. Yeah. Try, start off with 12 hours. You will end eating, less carbs, sort of less bread and rice and pasta and stuff like that, eating more vegetables, etc., and then slowly increase the fasting window. And I understand for diabetics, you have to keep some food with you in case you start feeling hypo. But a lot of diabetics, type 2 diabetics, have reversed their diabetes by following a good intermittent fasting protocol. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. The recording will be shared, and if even at other time, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I may be able to help based on whatever I've been researching and reading. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, friends, for joining this session. And yes, we'll share the recording now in the groups. Happy weekend. Happy Sunday. Bye, everyone. So what are the best eating hours? Last question. Okay, early days bit.
The earlier in the day we have the eating window, the better. Now, we are social animals. Unfortunately, our social life revolves around evening and nighttime. So they did an experiment where these mice were then put on a 5-2 plan. So 5 days they actually ate within just 8 hours, and 2 days they actually ate longer, meaning 12 hours, rather than 8 hours, 12, 15 hours. Even by doing that, they actually maintained their good health. So what is important is earlier in the day is better. There may be an exception here and there that we, unfortunately, this is just modern living. We end up having social functions in the evening. So an exception once a week or whatever is not going to destroy that health. But the more we can follow it, the better. Earlier is definitely better. Later at night causes acidity, and it just causes a lot of problems if we eat late before going to bed. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, friends. Bye, everyone. Thank you.